My wife left me for a rich guy, then his life fell apart. I'm 32 years old, and up until 5 months ago, I thought I had the perfect marriage. My wife was 27, and we'd been together for over 8 years, married for almost 6 of those. We've been living together for 7 years in a house we bought together, and honestly, I thought we were living the dream. We both had good jobs, stable finances, nice cars, everything you're supposed to want. I really believed we were that couple, you know? The ones who just work. But I need to back up a bit because this story doesn't start with the cheating. It starts in February of last year when I lost my mother completely out of nowhere to a heart attack. I'm talking one day she's fine, the next day she's gone. No warning, no goodbye, nothing. And when I say the months that followed were rough, I mean they were absolutely brutal. Not just for me, but for my wife too. She'd been very close to my mom, considered her a second mother really, so we were both just devastated. For about 6 months after mom died, we barely did anything. We went out maybe twice during that entire period. Most nights we just stayed home, collapsed on the couch, watched whatever was on TV, trying to process what had happened. I wasn't happy during this time, obviously, but I thought we were in it together. I thought we'd get through it the way couples are supposed to get through hard times. Together. Looking back now, I can see I was naive. I was so wrapped up in my grief that I didn't see what was happening right in front of me. The night that changed everything was about 5 weeks ago. My wife told me she was going out for drinks with 3 guys from work. I knew all of them, so I didn't think much of it. The bar was literally 5 minutes from our house, and I was tired anyway, so I told her to have fun and that I'd probably be asleep when she got back. No big deal, right? Wrong. At 3:30 in the morning, she came home with those 3 guys. I heard them downstairs, laughing and talking, and then she came up to the bedroom to tell me they were all going out to the city together. At 3:30 in the morning. I didn't like it, but what was I supposed to do? Lock the door? We're adults. Everything in the city closes at 4 a.m. anyway, and it's only a 15-minute drive, so I figured she'd be home by 4:30 at the latest. She didn't get home until 5:30. That extra hour might not sound like much, but it was enough to plant a seed of doubt in my mind. For the first time in our entire relationship, I started to wonder if something was wrong, but I pushed it down. I told myself I was being paranoid, that grief was making me suspicious of everything. Then came the Sunday that destroyed my world at IT, was 4 weeks ago now. She left the house that morning and said she was going to some carnival event with her mom. Something felt off, but again, what could I do? The weird part was that she left without even saying goodbye. I was in the shower, and she just took off. No kiss, no see you later, nothing. That wasn't like her at all. When she came home later that day, she walked through the door crying. My immediate response was concern. I went to her and said, "Honey, come here, what happened? What's got you so upset?" Her first words, and I mean the very first words out of her mouth, were I want a divorce. I felt like someone had punched me in the stomach. We just lost my mother. We were supposed to be supporting each other through the worst time of our lives. And now this? We talked for a while after that, both of us very emotional. I was crying, she was crying, and finally I just asked her straight up, "Did you cheat on me?" She said no. She told me she'd been unhappy for a long time, that she wanted out of the marriage. But here's the thing, she had never, not once in all our years together, told me anything was wrong. Not a single conversation about being unhappy or wanting things to change. This came completely out of left field. After we talked, she left, packed some stuff, and went to stay at her mom's house. That we have a dog together, and neither of us could take care of him alone. Me because I work long hours and her because her mom's place is too small. So our dog ended up staying with my aunt, which broke my heart because it felt like we were already dividing up our life. 4 days after she left, I saw her again to sort out the dog situation. That's when I confronted her about the cheating again. I told her I needed the truth this time, that I deserved at least that much. And this time, she admitted it. She'd been cheating on me for an entire week. From a night, she went out drinking until the day she asked for the divorce. 1 solid week of betrayal. She said she thought she was in love with this guy. I asked her what was so great about him, what made him worth throwing away 8 years for. All she could say was that they had a connection, a spark. That was it. That was the reason my marriage was ending. A spark. She also told me she felt like she was going through some sort of midlife crisis at 27 years old, that she didn't know what she wanted from life anymore. And maybe this is petty of me, but I noticed other changes too. Out of nowhere, she dyed her hair purple. She signed up for motorcycle lessons, which was weird because she'd always been happy riding on the back of mine. Everything about her felt different, like she'd become a completely different person in the span of a week. For the first week or 2 after she admitted to cheating, I tried to reach out. I sent her serious messages about maybe working through this, about counseling, about not throwing away everything we'd built. Every single one of those messages was ignored. The only messages she'd reply to were casual, surface-level stuff. And even then her responses were short and dripping with this arrogance I'd never seen from her before that I didn't recognize my wife anymore. Her entire personality seemed to have shifted. She was treating me like I'd never mattered to her at all, like I was some stranger or worse, like I was garbage she needed to dispose of. Part of me wondered if this was some kind of defense mechanism, if maybe she was pushing me away because it made it easier for her to justify what she'd done. Or maybe this was who she really was now. I honestly didn't know. What I did know was that falling in love feels amazing. It's intoxicating. But what happens in a few months when the honeymoon phase with this guy wears off and reality sets in? What happens when she wakes up from whatever fog she's in right now? I found myself experiencing all these mixed emotions. I resented her deeply for cheating on me. I was disappointed beyond words. But at the same time, I couldn't forget that the foundation of our marriage had been solid for years. We'd been good together. We'd been happy together. At least, I thought we had been 0.5 weeks past from that initial breakup conversation. Neither of us filed for divorce officially. I wasn't sure why she hadn't, but for me, I was torn between wanting to save our marriage and just wanting it to be over. At that moment, I genuinely didn't care which way it went. If we got back together, fine. If we divorced, that was fine too. I was numb to it all, but I also couldn't keep living in this limbo where I was technically still married but completely abandoned. That's not fair to anyone. I need to mention something about those first 4 days after she left, before she admitted to the cheating. Those days were absolute torture because I didn't know for certain what had happened. Part of me felt guilty, like maybe I had messed everything up somehow. Maybe I'd been too caught up in grieving my mother. Maybe I hadn't paid enough attention to her needs. But once she admitted to cheating, those guilty feelings started to fade. Even if I wasn't a perfect husband, even if I could have done things differently, the way our marriage ended was 100% her fault. She never showed me she was unhappy. If she was such a good actress that she could fake being happy for years, then that's on her, not me. She never talked to me about what needed to change. And then she went out and cheated and continued to cheat. This was done. I stopped believing there was any way back from this. The weird thing was I didn't even miss her anymore. Sure, sometimes I missed who we used to be as a couple. The memories we'd made together, the life we'd built. But this woman she'd become, I almost felt sorry for the next guy whose heart she'd inevitably break. That AS for my mom's passing, I was actually handling that pretty well, all things considered. I still had moments where it hit me hard, but I've been starting to crawl out of that darkness. I've been ready to start living again, to go out with friends, have drinks, ride my motorcycle, actually enjoy life. And then my wife cheated and kicked me right back down into that pit. But I knew I'd be fine eventually. Time heals, right? Though I had to admit, I wasn't looking forward to the holidays. No mom, no wife. My dad was alone too, after 40 years of marriage. But we deal with it. Life goes on, whether you're ready or not. The good news was I had an amazing sister and a solid group of friends I'd known for over 20 years. I wasn't anywhere near ready to jump back into single life and dating, but somewhere deep down, I was a little bit excited about it too. It had been more than 8 years since I'd dated anyone. More than 8 years since I'd gone out without checking in with a partner. I'd fallen as far as a person could fall this year. But I truly believe there were better times ahead. One of the people commenting on my story was absolutely right about us getting married too young. I was 26 when we got married. She was 21. I hadn't changed all that much in those years, but maybe she had changed a lot and just suppressed those feelings for a long time. She even said herself that she felt like she was having a midlife crisis, and those were her words, not mine. Let me tell you a bit more about our relationship before everything fell apart, because I think it matters. We both liked gaming, though we never really played together. I'd be on my PC playing Age of Empires while she played The Witcher on the PlayStation. We both enjoyed watching good shows on Netflix, especially after my mom died. That became our thing. But even before that, we preferred staying in to watch movies together over going out to bars and clubs. That we did go out occasionally, though. Cinema once or twice a month, bowling, dinner out. We both loved motorcycles. I had my license and my bike, and she always loved being my passenger. When she was younger, her dad used to take her on rides on his bike too. But apparently now, she wanted her own license and her own bike, which was news to me that we liked spending time with family. Every other Sunday, we'd visit either her mom and stepdad, her dad and stepmom, or my father. We'd drive out to nice natural areas, take our dog for long walks in the forest. It was peaceful. As for personality traits, I loved how impulsive she could be. Well, Maybe she was too impulsive, but at the time I appreciated it. I'm someone who overthinks everything. Before buying something, I consider whether we really need it, whether we can afford it, all the practical stuff. She just buy it or book that vacation I was having doubts about. We balanced each other out that way. Complete opposites. I loved her sense of humor too. We had this amazing connection when it came to making each other laugh. Same dry, corny humor. We always had fun together. I loved how honest and straightforward she used to be, how she'd always tell me exactly how she felt. Like 4 years ago when I got a bit too addicted to a video game. I didn't even realize I was neglecting her, but after a few weeks, she told me straight up that I wasn't making her happy and I needed to pay more attention to our relationship. So I did. I cut down the gaming to almost nothing. I love the way she talked, the way she walked, the way she laughed. I love how she looked. I love this weird thing where she'd sneeze 8 to 10 times in a row, every single time. But now, all those feelings I had were fading fast. As for our intimate life, I'll be honest, it wasn't great. We probably had relations about twice a month since we got married. In my opinion, it was always good when it happened, though now I'm not sure what she thought about it. We'd both finish, unless she was faking, which I don't think she was. But it wasn't exciting. We'd do the same 3 or 4 positions, and that was it. After all this happened, I made some calls and found out that in the Netherlands, where we live, we have something called a mediator who handles all aspects of divorce. This person does what lawyers normally do, handles the financial stuff, the emotional conversations, everything. It's like an all-in-one service that helps 2 people arrange their divorce, that we scheduled our first meeting with the mediator. Unfortunately, my soon-to-be ex-wife's car broke down that day, so I had to pick her up. And yes, I really had to do it, because for this divorce to go through smoothly via this mediator, we both needed to be at every meeting. The meeting went pretty well, or at least as well as a divorce meeting can go. We both expressed our feelings about wanting to end the marriage, but I never mentioned the infidelity. This mediator is neutral and doesn't pick sides, so I didn't think it was worth bringing up. Plus, in the Netherlands, there are no laws against cheating. She'd still have the same rights whether she cheated or not. After the mediator left, we were sitting together at the table, barely talking. The only distraction was our cats running around. After a few minutes of awkward silence, I asked her, "Do you have anything left to say to me?" She said no, so I told her, "Okay then, I think you can leave now. I don't want you here." She asked if I could drive her home, I said no. How she got home was her own problem. I wasn't in the mood to drive 30 minutes to take her home after everything she'd put me through. She looked hurt by that, emotionally even. I think she expected me to do what I'd always done in the past, which was everything for her. But those days were over. She called her mom, who said she'd pick her up in about an hour. My wife said she'd go for a walk until her mom arrived. As she left, she still looked upset, visibly emotional. But I stayed strong. I treated her like she meant nothing to me because at that moment, she didn't. She wasn't the woman I'd loved and been loyal to anymore. That woman was gone. Now I need to give you some background for what happened next. I'd worked as a driver at a transport company for 11 years. Let's call it Supertrans. About 4 months before all this drama with my wife, I quit that job and started working at a different transport company. The thing is, I got my wife a job at Supertrans about a year and a half ago. She worked in the office there while I was still a driver. I also knew her affair partner because he worked in the warehouse at Supertrans. Since I'd been there for 11 years, I knew everyone at that company. Everyone liked me, and I was best friends with some of the dispatch guys that, as far as I knew, my former coworkers at Supertrans knew that we were getting divorced, but nobody knew about the affair. My wife's direct coworker, who sat at the desk right next to her, was a 32-year-old gay guy named Thomas. He was actually present the night my wife cheated, though he left early. He was one of my favorite people at that office, and he'd always liked me a lot too. My wife had vacation time coming up and will be back at work the following Monday. I started thinking about sending a message to Thomas explaining what had happened and revealing the affair. Of course, I wanted to tell him to warn him that my wife had no morals and couldn't be trusted. Thomas had to work with her every single day. I wanted him to know what kind of person she really was. I also intended to tell him who the affair partner was, because Thomas had been out with them the night my wife cheated. I wanted Thomas to know what a piece of garbage the affair partner was, how he had no morals whatsoever. I realized this might seem like revenge, and honestly, I suppose it was. This woman had put me through absolute hell. I would have loved to hear about her having a terrible day at work that Monday when all her coworkers found out she betrayed me. Besides, I got to decide who I told about her cheating and who I didn't. Everyone at that office had liked me for over 10 years. So it wasn't really a question of whether I should do it. I'd already made up my mind, about 6 weeks after everything imploded. I had to admit I was feeling mentally exhausted. But apart from that, I was doing better than I would have expected. I had a question about my soon-to-be ex-wife's behavior, though. Was it normal for someone in an affair fog to treat everyone around them like trash? She was obviously treating me badly, with zero respect, acting like I'd been the worst husband in the world. She claimed she'd been unhappy for several years, which I believed was complete nonsense. But honestly, I didn't care what she did to me anymore. It was her life she was destroying, not mine. What bothered me was how she was treating other people. That my father sent her one of the sweetest messages he'd ever written in his entire life. She didn't even reply with a thank you. Just left him on read. After my mom passed last February, my wife had regularly taken my dad to an amusement park nearby. They both had season passes and would go together often. My dad had really loved her, had considered her a daughter. Now I was watching him age by the hour, and it was killing me. And my soon-to-be ex-wife couldn't even send him a simple thank you message. She'd also told my younger sister that she wanted to remain very good friends with her. But they hadn't been in touch for several weeks. Then there was her best friend, who was actually a mutual friend of ours. They made plans to spend a day together, going shopping and having fun. Her best friend sent several messages the day before asking if they were still on. No reply. She didn't even read the messages. She didn't pick up when her best friend called either. The day they were supposed to meet, same story. No answer. Her best friend sent one more message asking if she was still coming. No reply. She didn't read that message either. Even though her WhatsApp status showed she'd been online after it was sent, her best friend spent the entire day crying on her couch. She'd taken a day off work specifically to spend time with my wife, and she got completely ghosted. Was this normal behavior for someone in an affair fog? Or was something else going on? I didn't care what my wife was doing anymore. I was done with her. But seeing what she was doing to her best friend was incredibly sad. And I should mention something really important. This best friend had actually lived with us for about 6 months, from November 2021 until April 2022. She'd just gotten out of a really bad relationship and had nowhere to stay, so we took her in. My wife and her best friend literally told each other everything. Everything, including details about our relationship and intimate life, that I've been talking to her best friend every day since my wife left, and she'd been super sweet and totally honest with me. I asked her if anything my wife said could be true about being unhappy with me for a long time. Her best friend said it was all lies. Never once had my wife ever mentioned being unhappy with me. Not a single word about it. And remember, they told each other everything. But not one word about being unhappy in our marriage. Either my wife was just blatantly lying now, maybe to justify her cheating and abandoning our marriage, or she kept her unhappy feelings secret from literally everyone, including her best friend who she told everything to. From my experience, I never noticed her being unhappy with me. Her best friend agreed. Neither of us had seen any signs. I sincerely hoped karma was going to hit my wife hard, and sooner rather than later. Everyone who reached out to me about the divorce got the truth. I told them she was a selfish cheater. Just the other day, a female friend showed me texts between her and my wife. The conversation went something like this. "Oh my God, honey, is it true you and your husband are separated?" "Yes, sadly it's true." "Oh my God, no. What happened?" "Well, we just grew apart over the last few years and have different goals in life. We decided to end it." I corrected that immediately. I told our friend the truth. My wife cheated on me, fell in love, she claimed, and left me for another man. Everyone who heard the real story was shocked. No one, including me, would have ever thought my wife would do something like this. A few weeks later, I realized something important. Once I accepted that she was out there living her life without me, I started doing the same. I talked to my soon-to-be ex several more times, and the conclusion seemed to be that she still loved me, but it wasn't fun anymore. Not strange, since my mom had unexpectedly died in February. She claimed to be in love with the affair partner, but with no strings attached, whatever that meant. I never noticed anything about her being unhappy with me specifically. She even admitted she wasn't unhappy with me, but with life in general. Basically, what I believed happened was this. She cheated, caught feelings for the affair partner, and left me for him. Once that became clear to me, I made the choice to let her go and focus on myself. At that point, I honestly didn't care what she was doing or whether she'd come back. I was fine either way. Work was going great. I joined a gym and have been going 3 times a week. My muscles hurt in that good way that means you're making progress. I'd also been talking to this amazing woman I'd known from childhood. Even though it was just friendship, I was really glad to have a female friend I could talk to about everything. She'd lost her dad the year before. So even on the topic of losing a parent, we could relate to each other as, oh yeah, I was okay today as for the divorce. We'd gathered all the necessary documents and sent them to the mediator. We were waiting to hear back from him to schedule our next meeting and move forward with the proceedings. I'd already made my decision. The divorce was happening. Even if my soon-to-be ex changed her mind and wanted to come back, the divorce was still going through. The marriage itself was over for sure. About 4 months after my last update, we were scheduled to sign the divorce papers and make it official in 4 days. I made some mistakes along the way, but I'd also made some moves that gave me my power back and made me respect myself again. 0.5 months after D-Day and the initial shock, I hardly even thought about the cheating anymore. To anyone going through a rough time, please trust me. It does get better. Time really is on your side. After the cheating and our breakup, I definitely made mistakes at first. I begged and pleaded. I got angry and frustrated. I felt totally out of control, like she'd lost her mind. This lasted for about 2 months. After that period, I made the decision to quit the whining. I told her I'd thought about everything and decided I'd still be open to seeing her and talking to her, that I thought there might still be a future for us. But I also told her I couldn't guarantee anything. For the last 3 months, I hadn't contacted her about casual stuff or about the relationship. The only things I reached out about were matters regarding our upcoming divorce, finances, or our mutual house, that I didn't just sit around waiting during those 3 months either. I'm 32 years old, and for the first time in my life, I started going to the gym seriously. Muscle building specifically, since I'd always been on the skinny side. I've been hitting the gym with full discipline, training 4 times a week for the last 3 months. I was seeing real increases in my muscle mass and overall appearance. But the gym did more than just improve my physical appearance. It helped mentally too. At first, I started working out just to keep busy and distracted. But 3 months in, I looked better and felt a lot better about myself. I was regaining a level of confidence I didn't even know I had. Pro tip: when you're going through a rough time, the gym really does work both physically and mentally. Regarding our mutual house, I spoke with the bank and found out I could borrow extra money and take on a higher mortgage. I have to pay my ex-wife about $65,000 for a share of the house, but I was able to do it. After signing everything and paying her, I'd be 100% owner of a house worth about $300,000. I wasn't thrilled about paying her $65,000, but in the long run, I was way better off owning my own house outright. Plus, she didn't have her own place anymore. She officially lived with her mom again, though I knew she was staying at the affair partner's house a lot too. How did I know if I wasn't contacting her? Well, my ex and I had a mutual friend who I spoke with regularly. As far as I knew, my ex had left me to be with the affair partner and basically jumped straight into a new relationship. I wasn't sure what was going on with my ex. Sometimes it seemed like she'd actually lost her mind. I tried to keep my thoughts away from her, but sometimes your mind wanders where it shouldn't. At this point, I could have started calling the affair partner her boyfriend, because that's basically what he was. But I stuck with calling him the affair partner because that's how this whole thing started. And here's where karma started to hit hard. When my ex and the affair partner first got together 5 months ago, everything seemed fine for them. But the tables were starting to turn. The affair partner was currently at home struggling with depression. I knew this for a fact because our mutual friend showed me screenshots of conversations between my ex and her. Also, the affair partner was out of a job. Even when everything first happened with the cheating, I'd always felt I was better than this guy, just based on his lack of morals alone. I believed he was worthless compared to me. Now I knew for sure, which made me feel even more certain that my ex had lost her mind. I'm not trying to be arrogant, but I was absolutely sure I was the catch and a way better man than her affair partner could ever be. Here's a little extra detail. At the start of their relationship, I was still contacting her, and I'd warned her about this guy. Yes, I was right all along. Not only did he prove himself to be the loser I suspected he was, but he'd also brought something into her life that could devastate her. She was basically digging her own grave. The affair partner had introduced her to hard drugs. That I knew this through a mutual friend. I hadn't talked to my ex-wife about it directly. If she wanted to ruin her own life, that was her business. But it seemed to be going downhill fast. As for my ex, I was certain she was struggling and possibly even doubting her own choices. I hadn't spoken to her or seen her during the holidays, Christmas, or New Year's. But about 1 week into the new year, she texted me out of the blue asking if I was home and if she could come over. She came to my house, and the visit was really short, only about 5 minutes. She came by to tell me she'd spent Christmas Day alone, sobbing. She wanted to know how my holidays had been and how I was doing. I told her my Christmas was okay, but not the greatest. I lost my mom the year before, and these were the first holidays without her. so of course it wasn't great. But I also told her I was doing well overall, which I actually was. This whole visit was weird to me. The only reason I could think of for why she'd care how I was doing was if she had regrets. Time would tell that I also spoke to my ex's mom after New Year's. My former mother-in-law called me to wish me a happy new year and all the best. I didn't expect that call, but it was nice to hear from her. She'd been family for 8 years. After all, why ex-mother-in-law told me my ex hadn't been doing great lately. Apparently she'd been very sad, crying a lot, mourning the marriage. My ex had even said to her mom, "I wish it wouldn't have to be like this." Once again, this implied to me that she was having second thoughts. But only my ex had the power to reach out and make a real move, and at this point I didn't see that happening. The only power I really had was to give her the divorce she'd asked for, walk away, and stay out of her life. Which is exactly what I was doing. I was removing myself from her life, giving her the divorce, and bettering myself every single day. That I'm sorry for the long story, but I needed to get all of this off my chest. In 4 days, we'd be signing the divorce papers. Even though I was really doing great, I was still only human. From time to time, I still mourned our marriage and the woman my ex-wife used to be. I hated seeing what she'd become, but I was fully aware it was out of my control and absolutely not my problem anymore. Let me end this by thanking everyone who supported me through this. Without that support, I wouldn't be where I am now, both mentally and physically. I fell as far as a person can fall, but I climbed back up. And honestly, the view from up here is looking pretty damn good.
If you enjoyed this, you'll probably like the next story too.